This is the Kodak EasyShare 875, and it's truly a terrible camera. This camera can be had for around $30, and if anybody is charging more than maybe $50 for one of these, you're getting ripped off. It boasts an 8.3 million pixel 1 by 1.8 inch CCD 8 megapixel sensor, a 5x Schneider-Kushner Varigen lens with 5x optical zoom, and this is Kodak's introduction to entry-level point-and-shoot market, and it was released in August 2006, 17 years ago. Next year, this camera can legally drink alcohol, and with a sensor more than 22 times smaller than an average full-frame mirrorless camera, this pumps out some stunning images. The images that this camera pumps out are amazingly crisp and really vibrant for its size and form factor. The dynamic range and vibrancy is really insane coming out of such an old camera. It uses Kodak's color science chip, and the colors on this camera really do shine. The camera offers manual controls with f2.8 7.1 aperture, up to 1 by 1000 shutter speed, and up to an 8-second exposure. 64 to 800 native ISO, but honestly 800 is probably the only usable ISO value. And surprisingly, you can even manual focus with this. There's really quite a lot of manual controls in this camera if you take the time to dig around. The Kodak C875 really needs an abundant amount of light to hit its sensor for it to look its best, which relegates it almost completely and exclusively to daytime photography. In return, you'll receive quite respectable optical zoom without sacrificing too much sharpness or clarity. But this is a 17-year-old camera, and it has quite a lot of drawbacks. The biggest thing is this LCD display is very, very difficult to view, and especially if you are shooting in direct sunlight, which is the only time when you can really get the best out of this camera sensor. Also, there is no internal image stabilization system, and if you move just a little bit when you're taking the shot, it will just introduce irreparable blur into all the images you take. On top of this, it's just a very old camera. There's a lot of things that it can't do. The autofocus is sluggish. The point and shoot aspect of it is pretty okay, but I'm often left waiting quite a long time for the image sensor to figure out what's going on and actually take the photo. But I absolutely love shooting with this camera. The limitations of this means I need to care so much more about composition and color, and it forces me to be much more creative with my framing. With a modern camera that strives for perfection and versatility, it's a breath of fresh air to be able to take a camera that has so many limitations, but you are still able to get such good images out of. Sometimes the limitations of a simple point and shoot can mean that you enjoy the craft of creating the picture so much more, knowing that you can't fix it in post. Photography has slowly become largely inundated with discussions of megapixels and RAW formats and lenses and camera combos, and it really adds up to quite ridiculous price tags, which pushes a lot of people away from this hobby. No matter if you're a seasoned photographer or just beginning the hobby, I would strongly recommend you pick up one of these old Digicams and mess around with it.